Gordon Ramsay has spent 20 years cultivating his image as television's most notorious angry chef, known for yelling, throwing food, and bluntly critiquing contestants' cooking with no hesitation. He has become synonymous with televised culinary harshness. However, there is another figure who arguably surpasses Gordon's intensity: Joe Bastianich. As a judge on MasterChef and a longtime colleague of Ramsay, Joe has developed a reputation among contestants for being far more severe. Unlike Gordon, Joe doesn't need to raise his voice to break someone down. Instead, he quietly tastes a dish, delivers a brutal judgment, and walks away, offering no constructive feedback, only public humiliation. His criticisms often stray far from the food itself, targeting the contestants' character, questioning their sincerity, and making them feel unwelcome, all delivered with a chilling coldness that seems to sting more deeply than Gordon's fiery outbursts. Fans have observed this stark contrast, and when examining Joe Bastianich's history on and off the show, it becomes evident that the issues extend beyond his judging style. Before diving into the controversies, allegations, and former contestants' testimonies, it's important to highlight a key fact: Joe is not a chef. This may be surprising given his decade-long role as a cooking competition judge, but it's true. He never attended culinary school, never trained in restaurant kitchens, nor apprenticed under master chefs or owned cooking techniques over years. Instead, Joe Bastianich is primarily a restaurateur and businessman, the son of Lidia Bastianich, a renowned chef and one of the leading authorities on Italian cuisine. Lidia earned her acclaim through decades of relentless effort after immigrating from Istria, a region once part of Yugoslavia and now in Croatia, and carving out a respected name in New York's fiercely competitive restaurant industry. She opened celebrated restaurants, authored cookbooks, hosted PBS cooking shows, and commanded genuine respect in culinary circles. Joe grew up immersed in this environment and leveraged it to pursue his own path. After studying finance at Boston College and a brief stint on Wall Street, he partnered with celebrity chef Mario Batali to build a successful restaurant empire. While the establishments thrived and some were outstanding, Joe's role was always business-focused rather than culinary. Then, in 2010, Fox approached him to be a judge on the American version of MasterChef. The network sought someone who could offer the diner's perspective instead of the kitchen's, a judge who would evaluate dishes as a customer rather than as a chef. Joe accepted the role, and for over 10 years, he has been critiquing amateur cooks on skills he himself lacks. This reality has unsettled many fans, who frequently express on platforms like Reddit that he's not even a chef, making it the most common criticism against him. However, Joe's lack of culinary credentials isn't inherently the issue. Many non-chefs can judge food fairly and constructively. The true problem lies in Joe's personal conduct and the recurring pattern of behavior he has exhibited throughout 11 seasons of the show. In Season 1, Slim Hine faced an incredibly tough pressure test with her passion fruit fondue, a dish that unfortunately came under severe scrutiny due to an overpowering ginger sauce that dominated the flavors rather than complementing them. Chef Gordon Ramsay, known for his high standards, took the time to try the dish himself before passing judgment, demonstrating his commitment to giving every contestant a fair chance. However, Joe Bastianich, another judge notorious for his no-nonsense approach, outright refused to taste the fondue. Without hesitation, he bluntly dismissed the dish, telling Slim, "This is like a buffet gone bad. Go back to your station. I'm not tasting this crap," before dramatically throwing the dish into the trash in full view of the shocked contestants and audience alike. This moment perfectly encapsulated Joe's harsh, unapologetically straightforward judging style, which often left contestants stunned and uncertain about how to respond. Fast forward to Season 3, when David Martinez presented his smoked lobster with roasted potatoes, hoping to impress the judges with the complexity and depth of his flavors. Instead, he faced a similar fate at the hands of Joe, who took only a tiny bite before launching into a 20-second tirade filled with criticism, but lacking any constructive advice on how to improve. After his harsh diatribe, Joe discarded the dish without a second thought, reinforcing his reputation for being brutally honest, sometimes to the point of seeming dismissive. Joe's comments often struck a deeply personal chord with contestants, as was painfully evident when Tanya Noble served lamb cutlets accompanied by roasted garlic yogurt. Upon tasting the dish, Joe spat out an entire garlic clove, a dramatic and visceral reaction that underscored his disgust. He scolded Tanya harshly, saying, "When you give us crap like that to eat, it's almost personally offensive." This blunt critique left Tanya visibly hurt and shaken, exposing the emotional toll Joe's unforgiving style could have on contestants. Yet, Joe showed no sympathy, instead urging her to step up your cooking game and have a little respect for the craft and the judges. This intense scene revealed the full extent of Joe's brutally honest, emotionally unforgiving judging style that could leave even the most confident chefs shaken to their core, highlighting the high-pressure environment and emotional intensity that define the competition. An even more troubling incident occurred during Season 4's Agnolotti Challenge. Joe's mother, Lidia, had demonstrated the proper technique, and contestant Howard Simpson openly admitted he rarely cooked Italian food. After tasting Howard's dish, Lidia gently pointed out that it was overly peppery and lacked balance, emphasizing the importance of mastering classic recipes, since their timeless appeal speaks for itself. She encouraged sticking to the fundamentals rather than improvising recklessly. Despite her culinary expertise, Lidia was kind and instructive in her critique. However, when it came time for Joe to assess Howard's dish, he was merciless, unleashing a harsh verbal attack. Joe couldn't understand why Howard had such a casual, almost indifferent attitude despite Lydia's kindness. Joe seemed to harbor a personal grudge against Howard, whom he perceived as lazy and undeserving of his spot on the show. His criticism quickly turned personal and brutal, accusing Howard of not knowing what he was cooking even with only 10 minutes left and mocking him for becoming emotional on stage. Howard attempted to defend himself, but Joe cut him down relentlessly, warning that trying to be clever or crafty with every dish would only earn him a swift exit. In everyday life, such treatment would be unacceptable, yet on the show, contestants are forced to endure Joe's humiliations in silence. Joe's behavior was less about the cooking and more about exerting dominance, revealing the worst traits of narcissism and denial. This was not constructive criticism, but a deliberate effort to demean. The contrast between Joe and Gordon Ramsay is telling, not because Gordon is kind, as he is known for his bluntness and sharp insults, but because Gordon's critiques typically focus on the food with clear explanations rather than personal humiliation. Joe's method involves delivering harsh judgments and walking away, leaving contestants crushed without helpful feedback. Fans online have noted that, when Gordon Ramsay is seen as the nicer judge, it speaks volumes about how far Joe crosses the line. Gordon plays the role of a tough but motivating figure, pushing chefs to improve, while Joe resembles a bitter, unproductive figure who tears others down to feel superior. Joe's comments often amount to nothing more than vague negativity and dismissiveness, ironically reflecting his own shortcomings. Even Gordon seems weary of Joe's approach. In Season 10, when contestant Dorian Hunter served wild boar sausage with garlic bread, Joe criticized the bread as cheapening the dish. Gordon immediately challenged Joe's claim, pointing out that garlic bread is not a traditional Italian staple and questioning Joe's stance. After offering Joe a piece of the garlic bread to try, Gordon lost patience with Joe's snobbish attitude. Joe attempted to brush it off with a laugh, but Gordon brought it up again during final judging, praising the dish and expressing his genuine enjoyment of the garlic bread. This interaction highlighted not only the difference in their judging styles, but also how Gordon values the overall dining experience rather than rigidly adhering to pretentious standards. Ultimately, Gordon's willingness to embrace and celebrate the dish's components stood in stark contrast to Joe's dismissiveness, reinforcing the perception that Joe's harshness often lacks substance and fairness. Despite Joe frequently rubbing both fans and his fellow judges the wrong way, he remains a part of the show today, still dismissive, cold, and often making contestants feel worthless. However, his harshness is only the surface. A deeper, more troubling pattern emerges when you examine his comments over the years. For example, In Season 4, contestant Bimi auditioned with mofongo, a traditional Puerto Rican dish made from fried plantains. Bimi explained that it was a dish he cooked for his daughters, who saw him as the world's greatest chef. Judges Gordon Ramsay and Graham Elliott appreciated Bimi's energy and, while they didn't think the dish was perfect, they recognized his potential. Joe, on the other hand, responded differently, questioning whether mofongo was truly a Caribbean dish or just Italian-American shrimp scampi, with plantains added, a remark that implied Caribbean cuisine was simply a variation of European dishes, undermining the rich history and authenticity of mofongo. Joe voted no, but fortunately, Gordon and Graham pushed Bimi through. This incident reflects a broader, consistent pattern in Joe's behavior. He seems to suggest that non-European cuisines can only be deemed valuable if they are made to resemble European dishes. Season 12 provided another example when Christine Ha, the blind chef and Season 3 winner, returned as a guest judge for a Vietnamese cuisine challenge. Contestant Darayu prepared a rice porridge with seared duck breast and sautéed morning glory, which Christine praised wholeheartedly, and Aaron surprised by its flavor. Yet Joe's compliment betrayed his bias, noting that Dara had taken Vietnamese flavors and techniques and somehow manipulated them into seeming like a European Michelin star dish. This insinuates that Vietnamese food's worth can only be elevated by making it less Vietnamese, a recurring theme in Joe's commentary. Even during Christine Ha's own season, the signs were evident. Christine was the first blind contestant on MasterChef, navigating the kitchen through her heightened senses and skill to reach the finale against contestant Josh. Still, Joe doubted her place in the competition. During a team challenge at Hatfield's, a Michelin-starred restaurant, when Graham suggested Christine could finish dishes at the end, Joe immediately dismissed the idea, asking rhetorically where she would be placed in a high-pressure kitchen, and stating she should be relegated to the coat check room. Despite Gordon's attempts to reason with him, Joe insisted she was a liability because she couldn't see the food on the plates, demonstrating a profound lack of understanding and empathy. This pattern of dismissiveness and cultural bias has marred Joe's presence on the show, casting a shadow over his role as a judge. If Joe's troubling behavior had stopped with what was seen on MasterChef, it would still be deeply concerning and warrant serious reflection on the character and professionalism he exhibited in such a public forum. However, the conduct he displayed beyond the confines of the television show reveals a far darker and more disturbing reality that stretches over many years. Over the course of more than 2 decades, Joe Bastianich, alongside celebrity chef Mario Batali, co-founded and built a sprawling restaurant empire that included over 20 establishments located in major cities such as New York, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles. While they were not only business partners but also friends, the relationship between the two men contributed to fostering a toxic and abusive workplace culture that permeated throughout their various restaurants. This culture allowed misconduct and harassment to flourish unchecked, creating an environment that was unsafe and hostile for many employees. During the height of the 2017 Me Too movement, which brought to light numerous cases of sexual harassment and assault in various industries, multiple women came forward with allegations against Batali. They described experiences of groping, unwanted touching, explicit and inappropriate comments, and predatory behavior that had been tolerated for years without consequence. Yet, the problem was not limited to Batali alone. In July 2021, following an extensive investigation by the New York Attorney General's office, a settlement was announced involving Batali, Bastianich, and their company. This settlement addressed a series of sexual harassment and discrimination lawsuits connected to their restaurant group and resulted in a $600,000 payment to at least 20 former employees who had suffered abuse and retaliation. The investigation revealed that pervasive sexual harassment and retaliation occurred at prominent restaurants such as Babbo, Lupa, and Del Posto between the years 2016 and 2019. Female staff members reported being subjected to forced groping, unwanted hugging, and coerced kissing by male colleagues, with one particularly egregious allegation accusing Batali of pulling a server's hand toward his crotch. Women who worked there were demeaned with derogatory terms like little girl or sensitive, were pressured into conforming to certain beauty standards by wearing makeup or even getting breast implants, while male employees were systematically favored when it came to promotions and career advancement. Complaints made by women were routinely ignored, dismissed, or blamed on the victims themselves, which only served to sustain and deepen the hostile, discriminatory, and unsafe work environment. This toxic culture not only undermined the dignity and well-being of the staff, but also stained the reputations of those at the helm of the empire, highlighting the urgent need for systemic change within the industry. New York Attorney General Letitia James was clear. Battaglia and Bastianich allowed an intolerable work environment and tolerated disgraceful behavior, unacceptable in any context. Joe's defense was simple. He didn't know, claiming he only learned of Battaglia's allegations when they became public in 2017. Yet, this doesn't hold up. Joe admitted hearing Battaglia make inappropriate remarks and said he should have done more to confront him. Former employees also accused Joe of inappropriate conduct, including flirting and making female staff uncomfortable, which he denied, saying he was just being friendly. Regardless, Joe was in charge and profited from a culture where harassment thrived. The settlement held him accountable. He signed the agreement, the company paid $600,000, and he was legally responsible for fostering the toxic environment. A month after the Battaglia allegation surfaced, Joe sparked controversy for racist remarks on MasterChef Italia, criticizing Chinese men and dismissing Asian cuisine on MasterChef Us. When the clip went viral, he apologized, claiming the segment was scripted and he knew the women, but the damage was done. Contestant Paulina Faro recalled Joe, calling her Filipino dish bad Chinese food. This showed a pattern of dismissive and racist behavior and a workplace culture allowing harassment and discrimination. In 2019, Joe and his sister bought out Battaglia's stake and renamed the company Pasta Resources. Joe called it a transformative period to redefine the business and culture. Despite this, his TV career continues uninterrupted. He remains a MasterChef judge, known for harsh critiques and dismissive remarks. He still enjoys fame alongside a man accused of sexual harassment, and is presented as an authority. Comparing Joe to Gordon Ramsay reveals stark differences. Ramsay has never disparaged foreign cuisines, made racist comments, or signed harassment settlements, while Joe has done all these and called contestant Christine Ha a liability for being blind. It's surprising Joe remains successful, but he's not the first with a troubling past to escape consequences, nor will he be the last. The persistence of Joe's career despite these controversies highlights a broader issue within the culinary and entertainment industries. Accountability often takes a backseat to fame and profitability. While public outcry and legal actions have pressured some figures to step away or change, others like Joe continue relatively unscathed, suggesting that systemic change is still lacking. This raises important questions about the role of networks, sponsors, and audiences in enabling or challenging such behavior. As consumers, recognizing the impact of our support on individuals' careers can be a step toward fostering a culture where respect and integrity are prioritized over notoriety. Until the industry collectively enforces higher standards and refuses to reward misconduct, stories like Joe's will likely repeat, underscoring the need for vigilance and advocacy in all professional spaces. Ultimately, the responsibility lies not only with industry insiders, but also with viewers and fans who have the power to demand better. By choosing to support creators and personalities who demonstrate respect and inclusivity, audiences can drive meaningful change. Networks and sponsors must also be held accountable for whom they promote and endorse, ensuring their platforms do not enable harmful behavior. Only through a combined effort can the culture shift toward one that values ethical conduct as much as talent and entertainment.